I'm Alan Chester, the VP of e-commerce here at Luzern, and today I'm going to speak to you about tilting the power of your brand, the power back to your brand on Amazon. So I'm going to look at the areas, particular things around growth. So I know growth is a big thing we're all striving for. And I'm going to talk about the Pareto's law of 80-20, how that applies to a brand selling strategy on Amazon. And then I'm going to talk about how we can look to disrupt this through things like innovation and product bundling, executing a great assortment strategy, which has been mentioned over the last couple of days. At the same time, aiming to always try and increase that higher average order value, because we know that this will always ultimately lead to that all important kind of profitability and sustainable growth that we're trying to achieve as we face the many challenges that Amazon throw at us. And what I'm also going to try and do is I'm going to try and support and show you today that there's some real world examples out there of how clients are doing this and doing this well. So just a super quick intro to Luzern. So we are a digital e-commerce platform and managed service provider. We are definitely Amazon experts, and we work with some of the world's leading brands to help them execute a profitable and sustainable e-commerce strategy. And we do this not only on the Amazon marketplace, but we also do it via B2C web stores that we build and operate on their behalf. So I'm not going to dwell too much on us today, because I really want to get into the meat of the conversation. So just, I guess, to set the scene. So what we see in almost all cases with brands of all different shapes and sizes, that they all face a similar challenges with Amazon. I think James touched on one key area there a second ago when we spoke about the lost control over pricing. All brands face this. And again, James gave some great recommendations as to how you can go about mitigating this and handling this. And again, I'm going to hopefully today give you some insights that will also, help support you in achieving better price control, but then also look at the other areas such as margin pressure, the listing suppression you face, and then other things like stock outages. So James had his metaphor, so I wanted mine. So I guess, in my view, to be successful on Amazon and achieve the sustained growth and profitability that you all want, in my view, I'd like to compare it to a game of chess. And the reason I say that is because, Amazon is tactical. You got to be, very tactical to be successful on Amazon. And kind of the metaphor I use is that you have to use all the tools or pieces in this case, and you got to make sure you use them all effectively. But the things you got to constantly try and visualize what the outcome is going to be with every play you make. And then at the same time, you always got to remember that, the customer is king. So where is the king in this place? So if I take that metaphor and bring you, into today's objectives of this session, what I see is that, the tools or the pieces in this case is the Amazon hybrid model. And I'm going to discuss then the strategic moves that we can make that are centered around things like an assortment strategy, innovation and bundling, strategic pricing, but always a focus outcome of keeping the customer king. So in terms of the hybrid strategy, so again, I just wanted to quickly mention a bit about this to make sure everyone understood, because some may and some may not. So I guess in simplest terms, we can best describe the hybrid model as a case where a brand sells both 1P and 3P. So they will continue to sell directly to Amazon, but they will also sell via a 3P service. And a managed solution is obviously the optimal one, so you don't incur all the issues and challenges that James spoke about. And again, this can be achieved by a good partner or a good vendor that's out there. And then also just on this side, I draw a reference just up to the top there in terms of the fulfillment options that 3P will offer, a brand if they go down this route. So you can utilize the Amazon fulfillment network, which will get you your Prime badge and your Prime certification, but also you can utilize fulfilled by merchant. So it's a 3PL option, or you can even utilize your existing fulfillment network if it can support direct to consumer orders. I guess a couple of points as well to note on the hybrid strategy. So, we've heard a lot around the digital shelf in the last couple of days. And, again, this is a great way that will enable a brand to list their full catalog of every single item that's in their warehouse or 3P warehouse. And, there's a very little risk involved because there's no investment, there's no moving stock around, there's no committing a large number of units to Amazon. So it's very low risk, and it's a great way then to open your catalog up to understand if there's more key products in there that would sell well organically without much intervention from the brand or from Amazon. Also on the assortment side of things, you got to look at, like, you can be very strategic as well. So, always ensure you're in stock is one thing that will please the Amazon algorithm and again, increase the customer satisfaction, keeping them front and center. So good assortment, we'll always make sure that happens, and I'm going to touch on that very soon. And then finally, it's pricing. So you can be more strategic with pricing. It's not a race to the bottom. You can select which ones you're going to go to battle for the buy box on, and again, bring them all back into kind of real actionable insights, real decisions based on profitability, I guess. So if we look down at Pareto's law that I mentioned at the start, so what we see, and how Pareto's law would play out in Amazon is we would always, or I won't say always, but typically what we always see is that 80% of a brand's sales will come from 20% of the product range. This 20%, is often referred to the core range, and this is where many brands will know that the real margin pressure comes in from Amazon. And this is what really, I guess, puts the pressure on profitability and then limits the growth for a brand. So what I want us to explore today, and I'm going to talk about it now, is in the 80%. So how can brands innovate in this portion of the portfolio? How can they identify more top-selling products just by either simply listing them on Amazon because they're not there today, or ultimately innovating in terms of the assortment and the range and things like bundling and better pricing strategies. So I'm going to just jump now into that, the kind of tactical real-world examples that I promised you guys at the start. So here's a great example of a brand that has innovated within their assortment to produce bundles that will, give the customer a greater choice, give them the option to sell for a higher average order value, and then also give them the option to decide what they want to do for a fulfillment perspective. So a well-executed hybrid model, gives a real ability to test and learn, and it can enable brands the opportunity not only to create things like bigger pack sizes, and bigger pack sizes, different variations of product, but it will also enable them to increase that higher average order value, which I've mentioned, and that will ultimately lead them to a point in time where profitability becomes a lot easier because obviously you are creating more sales per transaction. So if I move on then, so once a brand has established that a bundle is something that works, and by works what I mean is that they've got it up, they've got it listed, the sales are coming in, the reviews are coming in, the Amazon algorithm kicks in. The brand are then left with a decision that if from a profitability standpoint it makes sense to do that, they should definitely, and we would definitely say, look at the opportunity to go down the FBA route, fulfilled by Amazon route. So you can see in this case, on the previous example I showed this listing where it started, and it was at the point where it was fulfilled by merchant, or in this case fulfilled by the brand. As it then began to get popular and ranks and organic and sales come in, the brand then made the decision that actually let's go and let's move this into the FBA warehouse. And once you add that prime badge to your listing, which James has touched on for all the reasons, you will definitely see an overnight explosion in sales. It's a real accelerator for a brand, and it's definitely something that we'd highly recommend that you can do. And one thing as well I know as well is that again, it was mentioned yesterday, thing is that fail fast, learn fast. If it doesn't work, stop it, change the quantities, change the variation, change the bundles, do what you need to do to find the winners. And again, what you will see as you then go to FBA, as you get the sales, as the reviews clock up, what you have here now is a real contender for a product that will actually fit into the core range, but it hasn't got the challenges of the Amazon pressure because the brand are in control of supply, the brand are in control of go-to-market. So this is now us beginning to take some of that 80% and bringing it into the 20%, but we've got a whole different set of measures and controls over it. If I move on then, I want to show you another great example, I guess, because there may be some brands in the room today that, wouldn't have the option to create bundles around maybe flavors or quantities. So I just want to show this example. So this is a really good example where a brand got creative. They looked at what was going on in the world. So in this case, as we all went through lockdown, and we all looked for, what we could look for in terms of ways to keep our children mentally stimulated and keep them entertained while we try to get some work done. This is a great example where this brand, innovated, and they formed a strategic partnership with another brand and produced this bundle that they then could go to Amazon with. It was exclusive, and again, it just really fed into that demand. So they shifted with the demand in the sector. So I would always say, think outside the box. When you think outside the box, that obviously will give you the opportunity to increase the average order value, absorb the cost better. So react fast to the market and conditions. And yeah, constantly innovate. Yeah, as I say, don't just look at what's in front of you, look at what's around you. If I look then next, and this plays into the assortment strategy. So always in stock is a metric that Amazon puts a lot of focus on in terms of the buy box algorithm and the customer satisfaction side of things. So if a brand can execute a really good assortment strategy, it means that they're going to fully, utilize and take advantage of the digital shelf that Amazon puts to us. So even when Amazon is out of stock, you, the brand, can be in stock. So this, not only is a great way to make sure you're always secured in terms of Amazon stock over top seller, that you're a second place to take it and list it, but also it's a great way, as I said, to find other products in your portfolio that Amazon don't order today that you can list. Again, it's very low risk. The inventory doesn't have to leave your warehouse. It's just a matter of listing them up there and see how that listing performs, either organically or with some marketing support and optimization that you can apply to it. And again, in speaking to reacting to market conditions, again, one thing we say is we all see what happened during the lockdown and the pandemic, where the Amazon fulfillment network came under extreme pressure, which led to some closures in the warehouse network across Europe, and then obviously the capacity issue. So them threats are still there today. They're still very real. So, if we look into the peak season, we're coming at the deal season, there's certainly going to be, we feel, capacity concerns or capacity constraints in the Amazon warehouse. So again, a good assortment strategy with a secondary fulfillment option is something that brands should look at to minimize this impact. If we go on then about continuing the expansion of the assortment, again, another simple thing we would definitely advise, or brands should definitely look at, is that utilize as much of the Amazon marketplace as possible. So again, we will say test and learn in terms of look at the other markets. If you can sell in the other Amazon markets, go do it. Again, it can be low risk. Pick your top sellers, localize your content, and then you have the option whether you want to utilize the Amazon FBA network or again utilize your own fulfilled by merchant network. Again, one thing you will see is that often outside the core markets for a brand, there is an opportunity to go at a higher price point because there's not as much pressure there. And that may be because Amazon are not currently listing the product, or the distribution network is under better control, or maybe undersupplied. So you're not as aggressive on price, as aggressive to go and win the buy box. So definitely exploit the non-core markets, and tap into that, undiscovered consumer demand. And again, just remember, it is low risk. It doesn't require a lot of investment. Okay. So then what I want to talk then, I guess, finally, just in terms of the innovation and the opportunities that lie there for brands, and something that brands should always be looking into, is that when a brand steps back and looks at the portfolio, they should always be trying to keep the customer front of mind, as we said. So one thing the hybrid model will offer a brand, and something that is sometimes often overlooked, is that when a brand engages hybrid, the brand goes 3P, they're actually going to get some real live 3P transactional data from the hybrid model. So they can see some consumer behavior in terms of what consumers are adding to the cart or in their portfolio. So what we say and what you got to do is use this data. So again, it can come from Amazon, it can come from your B2C online store data, but understand your customers' purchase behavior. See what they're adding to the basket, and then use this information to innovate around the bundling. So in this case here, again, this is kind of like a great example I wanted to show, where this brand has gone, and again, low risk, so they pick the top seller. So you don't always have to find the one at the bottom and try work at the top. So capitalize on all the great work that's been done today. So pick a high ranked product. So in this case, you can see this, that the brand is capitalized on the top selling product, and then figure within this how you can innovate. So the simple thing that the brand has done here is that they detect is within the purchase behavior of their customer that 4 months supply was something that attracted the customer. So something that was taking a customer like 2 clicks or 3 clicks to do, they've actually gone and said, well, okay, let's turn this into a better customer experience and let's make it a 1 click. So they've capitalized on the organic ranking of this listing. They've created a new pack size. They've leveraged all the hard work that's been done today, and it's now given themselves and given the customers choice. But then at the same time, they've increased that average order value, which ultimately leads to what we're looking for: better control and better sustainability on pricing. One thing which I didn't cover today, and it's something I could perhaps do a full session on, but like again, in terms of marketing support, it definitely helps. But in the case of what I'm showing you here today, given this listing ranks so high and it's organically so good, you wouldn't need it. So again, this just shows with the right approach, the right thought process, and innovation, brands can be very successful in exploiting that 80% of the portfolio to bring more of it into that core range with the additional controls in place. So just for me then, key takeaways, I guess, for brands to consider today. So execution of a good assortment strategy with the hybrid model that we've touched on will give brands the capabilities to disrupt that 80-20 rule. Will give you the increased control on your core range, particularly around pricing. And again, it'll always make sure that you're fully in stock. And again, as I said, exploiting that digital shelf. In terms then of bundling, so test and learn. As I said, fail fast, learn fast. If you put it up, it's not working, change it, try it again. Don't try, as I said, start, at the tough ones and work it. Pick the easy ones to start, add the variations onto that, whether it's quantity, whether it's size, whether it's flavor. Use the data then to make the informed decisions. Innovate, think outside the box. I think we give a good example of the big team and what they done. And then, as I said, FBA, that prime badge, massive accelerator. Understand the course involved, because again, it can differ depending on product size and product size and category. But definitely, there's a lot of acceleration to be had by adding that prime badge to your listing. The next then would be in terms of the assortment. So, the right assortment, would definitely lead to a higher average order value. Once you're getting a higher average order value, as I said, that's where the sustainability and growth comes from. And then also, with the right strategy in place, as I said, you price in real time. So you're not committing months in advance, thousands of units to Amazon. You can keep them in control, and then you can react to the market. So pick your times to go to battle. Pick your times to decide that, today we want to win the buy box, or no, from a profitability standpoint, it doesn't make sense. And then you can, again, find the route to market that gives the better profitability. Keep the customer king. So as we said all along, that from a brand perspective, react to the market, react to the demands, but always keep the customer front and center. Keep them coming back. And again, subscribe and save is something we've seen a great explosion in the last 18 months. So again, that's another good thing you should consider looking at also. And then finally, then I guess it's a checkmate. So for me and my view, that like if you can successfully execute the recommendations that you've seen today from myself, James, and Malcolm, it will ultimately lead to better profitability, and it will give you this more dynamic assortment that there's less pressure on that core range on, and then it will give you what we're all setting out to achieve, which is like a better overall control on Amazon in terms of your strategy and pricing. So that's all from me. Thank you all for your time. I'll hand it back to you, James, now. I think we're going to jump into the Q&A.
Yeah, thank you very much there, Alan. We're now in the Q&A. I can see, looking down the list, we've had a fair few questions come in, which is always good to see. I think we'll just kick straight into the first one we received. So I think we've got a message here from Monique. Question is how the strategy of increasing average order value fits within the current strategy of pushing to sell single units on the core platform. So, Alan, have you got a take on that one?
Yeah, great question. So I guess in the vein of where I'm speaking about increasing the average order value, from experience, what we see is that when you look at Amazon and all the costs associated around it, and when you're in a category like FMCG, the typical average order value of single items is quite low. So when you then layer in all the Amazon costs, whether it's support from marketing or whether it's additional funding in terms of a deal, so what we've seen is that very quickly them costs outweigh profitability. So that was, I guess, a key message I was trying to make today, that in the view of 3P, it's a great way. Keep 1P focused on your single units and your growth there, but 3P is a great way to experiment again in that 80%, because that 20% typically is where you'll see all those single units that you are trying to push. But the 80% gives you a great opportunity to exploit that portfolio, build the packers, build the bigger pack sizes, increase the average order value. And as I said, trying to understand what the customer demands are and improve the experience, because Amazon is great, but it's limited to when you take a step back, because they can't do what can be achieved in the hybrid strategy in terms of, product bundling, mixing, pack sizes, all the stuff you can do really quick and test and learn. So that'd be my view on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely spot on. I think if I was to add sort of one minor point, it would be going back to the slide I had on Assortment in my section around the art of saying no. Like I was saying, every vendor manager is targeted on and has goals around accessing every single SKU they possibly can. Part of Amazon's long-term goal of being the everything store, which I'm sure you guys will have heard the phrase. But if there's a SKU or a range or a product that's the price point means it's not profitable, it's not an ideal product for selling in a single unit on the core platform, then don't do so. When you're sort of making a decision, think about the shopper mission. A lot of core tends to be in terms of the shopper behavior tends to be very spearfishy. So shoppers are going to the core part of the Amazon platform for a specific product. Are they likely going to sort of be going to the Amazon platform for sort of a single unit of a very low ASP product? Potentially, but maybe not so much. Think maybe, I'm not sure exactly which category you're in, Monique, but perhaps think fresh. The fresh part of the Amazon platform is a better place for those single units. And like Alan was saying, keep the core side of things for the larger pack sizes, where someone's going to be sort of maybe thinking slightly longer ahead. They might want sort of a higher volume that they're looking to stock up rather than a sort of a single unit perhaps. So I think that the message there is, I think like Alan said, target those higher number of units, quantity units to facilitate the financials on the core side, and keep those single units for things like fresh. Second question I can see came in relates to Amazon badges. So the question is from Cal, and it's, what main strategies are there to achieve Amazon badges on products? And again, I'll go to you, Alan, for that one as a first stab.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and I wish I knew the answer, because we get that asked quite a lot. But look, I guess the simple thing is it's just do the basics, right? The badges, the choice badge, the top seller badge are just very conversion based. So they are typically tend to come back to what the best selling product is, or what seems to be the product of choice for Amazon. And that's what we can see in terms of operating on the 3P model. So what we say there is it comes back to all the basics. And again, a lot of stuff I didn't touch on today, we didn't touch on today, because look, we could fill 2 days talking about the best product title, the best images, the keywords, etc. But the badges are typically achieved, and Amazon's view is that when a customer goes to that search bar, clicks your product, and then goes from your product to buy box to checkout, seamlessly, they know that is the product from a customer experience in terms of search, find, and purchase was seamless, and that's what they want to push and promote. Underneath that, what gets you to that, that top result is, as I said, the content, etc. And then pricing is obviously key, winning the buy box. So yeah, if you win the buy box, if you do a great job from content, a good customer experience, and the choice badge as well, it can be given to a party or fulfillment. So if it is a party, do a great job on fulfillment. Fulfill to the customer. Meet your KPIs that you commit to them. So I wish it was an easy answer to say, tick a box, but yeah, it's all the hard work typically will result in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Get the basics right, I think, is the message there then from you, Anne.
Yeah.
Malcolm, you're going to add something?
Yeah, just another key driver of that as well is availability, making sure in stock, of course, but ratings and reviews will obviously be a huge driver of that, and that to factor that in. It's important to monitor that and make sure that you're responding and interacting with those reviews, because that will certainly drive that Amazon Choice badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the key thing to remember here is that these badges, there's not someone sort of sat at their desk going through the Amazon site saying, yeah, that product gets it, that product doesn't. It's all algorithm driven. So think about the types of inputs that are going to be going into that decision. It's things like the rep out of stocks, the availability, Alan was just talking about. It's things like the number of reviews, the score, the rating that they're getting out of sort of 5 stars. It's all these sort of basics and the metrics that an algorithm can leverage to decide which it thinks is the best ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, the only thing I'll add to that, James, is that it all stems from the conversion. So you got to convert, you get the sales, you get the feedbacks, your rank climbs, you become a top seller, and then you're number one. And again, I guess just one thing that came to mind, where we've seen it in the past, where we did actually, we got it, I guess, quite unexpectedly, was engage in the deals program for Amazon if you can. So what you would see, if you put a deal in place and the deal is successful, what happens is that scores very high in the Amazon conversion rate. And then you can, out of nowhere, be awarded either the top seller badge or the choice badge. So again, that might be a little insight that might help.
Yeah, spot on. Looking back to the question panel, so I can see there's a couple of clarifications from my slide. So one from Sarah, how to score for content health, missed where this feature sits. So this relates to sort of back end of last year, just before I left Amazon. This was a metric that was surfaced to brand specialists. So for any brands that are on the Amazon Vendor Services program, the brand specialists have it there. I'm not privy to Amazon's sort of development plans or pipeline anymore, but given its obvious connotations in terms of site performance and conversion and whatnot, it's one that it's currently available through the brand specialist, but I would guess that it's going to become available through Vendor Central or through ARA at some point in the future. But for the moment, I just ask your brand specialist if they can sort of surface this to you. Second clarification question from Seda, wouldn't their Amazon profit be higher if 3P is using FBA services? Yeah, spot on. So sellers have to pay a higher fee for the FBA service too. And that goes on top of the 10 to 15% seller fees that I referenced during the speech. Going down, a question from Sebastian. I'll go to both you and Malcolm and Alan for this one. Do you have a view on the broader or whole fulfillment model with Amazon? So here I'm thinking we're talking FBA, we're talking merchant fulfilled, or we're talking sort of Amazon fulfilled. Malcolm, I'll go to you first for that one. If you've got any thoughts on the broader fulfillment model on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I think it boils down to that sort of speed and efficiency. So not only in terms of operationalizing it, making it quick and efficient for Amazon, from all the way through their distribution and supply chain, but they're also getting more innovative, such as the relationship with Next, and so more collection points in more convenient places. So it's not just about the collection lockers. Then you start thinking how they can expand and utilize the Morrison's relationship, the wider relationships they've got with collection points, and how they're using their physical footprints to actually achieve that. So I think that there's certainly going to be more opportunities around speed and on demand, how they're going to use Deliveroo, how they're going to use Prime and Prime Now. I think that is certainly going to be one of their key focus areas, so that optimized omni-channel fulfillment. But to make that work efficiently and at scale, they need to have efficiencies within that supply chain and logistically. And that's what they were looking for a lot of brands to help them with.
Yeah. Again, I think Malcolm has covered it well there. I guess maybe the only bit I'd like to add to that was, again, Amazon have actually been very slow to roll this out in Europe, but it's the whole Prime certification for a seller warehouse. So, Amazon have launched that very successfully in the US, whereby a seller's warehouse or a 3PL warehouse can be Prime certified if they meet the certain KPIs that Amazon put in place in terms of order pick, have it ready at the back door. In the US, obviously, it's all land. So the Amazon truck literally arrives at the back door, whether it be UPS, and then take it and delivers it to the end customer. The challenge Amazon have obviously faced in Europe is that, if they're trying to deliver products from the UK to Germany or Germany to the UK, or across water, and then the carrier integration as well, so many multiple carrier integrations. So it is there, it is available. They're not pushing it as hard as I would have expected in terms of, offering more integrations, because as we look today, they're limited in terms of what we see. I think it's Royal Mail, DPD will be 2 in the UK. I know that you have to ship with those carriers if you want to Prime certify your warehouse. What we see with some of the bigger brands we work with, they don't use those guys. They may use DP or UPS or DHL, and Amazon haven't rolled out that integration yet. So I think that, watch the Prime certification, because as the pressure continues to come on there, the Amazon warehouse network, given the current pandemic, they may really double down efforts on that and push, brands and 3P sellers more to aim for that Prime certification fulfillment.
And that's going to be especially true as the B word or Brexit kicks in.
I didn't want to mention that.
I didn't want to try and got away with not mentioning the B word, but unfortunately it does crop up. That's going to have a big impact on that as well. But I think interestingly, one of the things we're beginning to see is that almost a hub and spoke model as well come in, sort of localized fulfillment, micro fulfillment centers, and that's where we might see more relationships with the Morrisons as they start to actually bring more efficiencies into the fulfillment and the final mile.
Yeah, absolutely. I think fulfillment model tends to cover that sort of final mile and that from Amazon to shopper side of things. But I think we could talk for hours on end about the sort of the other side of things there. So the how do you go from the brand warehouse into Amazon, whether that be sort of through, there's an endless list of sort of supply chain programs in place there that we won't go into for the moment, but it's worth trying to find the right solution for both your brand, your supply chain setup, but also in terms of the types of products you're offering and have you got the right sort of delivery solution for the customers that they're going to be expecting for that type of product. Moving on to the next question. It's got 4 minutes left, so I can see there's a couple of questions left. So another one from Cal. We've got, if you have a product, let's say version 1, and you have a new version of this product launching, which is the same but an upgrade, would you recommend placing these two on the same Amazon page? So I can actually take this one quite quickly. This is, I'm not sure if you're aware, Cal, but there's a tool on Amazon called Neva. I think it's shortened to NEVA, and it's the newer version available feature. If you search within the Vendor Central help pages or Seller Central help pages, you can see a sort of a breakdown of exactly how it works, or you can ask your vendor manager or seller support help to just send you the documentation on that. But essentially, it's a little box that pops up on the detail page below where the bullet points appear, and it just sort of flags up saying there is a newer version of this product available, and you can click through to the newer product there. And it's a good one for sort of taking a lot of that traffic that would have gone to the original product. So all of that effort you've put into driving awareness and driving traffic of that original detail page, then sort of converting that and driving that towards the newer page and start boosting and give that one a leg up in terms of its performance on Amazon. So that's one to go and take a look at. And then a question from Roland. How do you see the role of Amazon advertising related to winning the buy box? Should Amazon advertising be a focus in the first phase of Amazon launch? Alan, what's your take on that when you get a new client and you're sort of going ahead and in terms of launching a new range or whatever? What's the approach you guys take in terms of using Amazon advertising? Yeah,
so look, it's a great question. And again, if you look at some of the stats that are out there, and again, I was only looking at a couple of them the other day, they say that 90% of searches start in the Amazon search bar, and then 64% of customers then will click on the top 3 results that appear on the page. If you look today, that top 3 results is typically dominated by sponsored ads. So that's the way it's going. That's the future. So we now would always recommend that, yes, you put some investment into your products if you're launching them from zero. Like you showed an example, where there was an established listing, and again, if you want to add to that, that's established, no need to. But when you're trying to set a new product up, whether it's newly launched or a new bundle you're creating, definitely allocate a budget to get it up there, to get the visibility. And again, back to the assortment piece, and that, like, if you're launching 3 or 4 products, what you should always seek to do is that invest in those in the beginning, get them up the top of search, get the sales, get the conversion, get the reviews. And then as that organically climbs in rank and in indexing, then you begin to then ease back some of that spend and either make it very targeted in terms of the ASIN, or take that spend and put it elsewhere on another product that's not performing so well. And again, I guess if you look, so day one, when you add that new product to Amazon, that's down the very end of a list of thousands of products. So definitely it needs that bit of a jump start to get it to the top. And then as I say, the key though is that, like, don't just set up the marketing and walk away. Constantly get in and optimize, and then when the time is right and the organic ranking of that listing is where it needs to be, take the spend off and put it elsewhere.
And yeah, and crucial with that as well, just to make sure that you've got all the basics right with the content page, and that is all absolutely A+ content and driven. Otherwise, if you're driving lots of people to that site and to that product page and the experience isn't there, you're not going to get a conversion.
Yeah.
So it's crucial to get that right as well, and ensure availability, of course. But the halo effect you get not just on Amazon, but away from Amazon through Amazon advertising, does suggest that there is a growing importance to use it as a media platform as well as just a sales channel.
Yeah, spot on. I think I would just sort of touch on, Roland, the first part of your question around the buy box. I think what Alan and Malcolm have said is it's absolutely crucial in terms of using Amazon advertising to drive it up the search rankings. One thing Amazon advertising is absolutely not useful for is winning back the buy box if you're losing it. So it's going back to Malcolm's point in terms of getting the basics right first. If you've got a SKU with or an ASIN with a particularly high lost buy box rate, don't put Amazon advertising spend behind it. Make sure you're getting that fixed before you're sort of almost throwing money down the drain in terms of the Amazon advertising spend there. So in answer to the first part of your question, no, don't use Amazon advertising for winning back the buy box.
And James, if I'll jump in with my 3P hat on, if I may. So one of the, I won't call it a feature, but in the case of 3P, if you have advertising switched on an ASIN and you lose the buy box, the campaign automatically switches off. So in the case of 3P, your money doesn't go down the drain. You can only promote and make that listing, visible when you have the buy box. So 3P side of things, it's worth noting that you have to win it first and then you can promote it.
Yeah, good call out. We are 2 minutes over. I don't know if we can answer one last question, because I see Joe has asked about top tips for negotiating JBPs with Amazon this year, which I think is probably more than a 2-minute answer, but I can give my 90 seconds of thoughts on this one. I think we spoke yesterday around JBPs, both for all players being a tricky topic, given the sort of coronavirus and costs and whatnot going on, both for Amazon and for all retailers. I think in terms of sort of the key thing as you're going into any terms negotiation, this is applicable for sort of brands outside, or for retailers outside Amazon too, it's think very clearly about what you're getting back for your spend. So Amazon terms tend to be broken down into a sort of a series of sub terms or terms within the broader agreement. Think very carefully for the 3% you're spending here, or the 1.5% you're spending there. What exactly are you getting back for that spend? Are those terms there to sort of prop up Amazon's profitability, and are they sort of a cost of a price of playing? Is that the reason they're there, or are you looking to actually get something back from those programs? And really look and push hard for those ROIs. Get the data back in terms of, if you're spending on A+ content, can you see the uplift you're getting back from there? Or if you're spending on some other program, is there something Amazon can provide to quantify and provide the reasoning for why the spend should be there? So just take a look down here at the terms that you've got in place, and really think hard about what are you actually getting back for each one of those payments.